In the American city of Seattle is Ramzy Baroud, the Senior Research Fellow at the Center for Islam and Global Affairs at Istanbul Zaim University. Ramzy, thank you so much indeed for your time. I mean, let's just pick up on the issue of aid. Why wouldn't Israel allow more aid into Gaza? Gaza usually gets 500 trucks of assistance every day, and the Israelis are saying you can have 200.
That's right, because for Israel, aid has always been a weapon against the Palestinians, and this is not new. This is something that did not start on October 7, by the way. It started with the beginning of the siege about 17 years ago, when Israel began kind of allowing aid to trickle into Gaza by the words of a top advisor to Ariel Sharon at the time, where Palestinians would be sent on a diet or would be put on a diet, but they will not be allowed to die. So the aid has always been an issue for Israel to control the Palestinians in Gaza and to use it as a part of its war on the resistance there. And this is not going to change. In fact, this tool or this weapon is far more functional today than it has ever been.
What do you think the Israeli army's aim is right now? It says that it's now entered the third phase of its conflict in Gaza. The first phase, of course, being those air and artillery strikes, the second phase being the beginning of the ground operation, and now the third phase. All we see from afar is the destruction of northern Gaza especially, which is beginning to remind people of cities like Aleppo or Mosul, which were completely razed to the ground.
Absolutely. I mean, I still really, I am like many analysts are baffled by Israel's military strategy. I mean, if you compare the statements that's made by various Palestinian resistance movements in Gaza, they usually talk about what they have already done. In the case of Israel, we always talk about what they are planning to do, and yet they keep moving from one phase to the other. I mean, we know that Israel has suffered immensely in this war. The kind of military losses that are unprecedented in its history, yet somehow they keep moving from one phase to the other. Just short time ago, they raided the Indonesian hospital. News reports say that they killed a woman, wounded few others, arrested 3 people. What is their business with hospitals? I mean, it seems that they are perceiving hospitals to be these military resistance barracks that they keep attacking, invading, killing, and kidnapping people from there. In the case of the Shifa hospital, they actually took many dead bodies, corpses from the morgue. So if this is Israel's military strategy, I think many of us are going to be spending years and years trying to analyze the military wisdom in attacking hospitals and stealing dead bodies.
Ramzy, I'm going to phrase this in a very particular way, okay, because I'm trying to make a point here. When they bombed civilians, the EU called it a war crime. When they laid siege to cities and towns, the EU called it a war crime. When they cut off water supplies to towns and cities, the EU called it a war crime. This is Russian actions in Ukraine. Are there double standards in the West, and are those double standards helping Israel?
Unprecedented, absolutely unprecedented. And again, many of us have reported on Ukraine, reported on Syria, reported on Iraq, reported on many conflicts around the world. We have never witnessed anything like this. When someone like Josep Borrell, for example, the EU chief, in an interview with Al Jazeera, is being asked point blank, what do you think what Israel is doing in Gaza is a war crime? And he said, I'm not a lawyer. You would have to consult with a lawyer. Then he asked him, do you think what Hamas has done on October 7 is a war crime? He said, absolutely. So this is not the kind of bias or a kind of double standards that requires even an analysis of any kind. It is just right there. It's glaring, it's starking. And it's incredible because the credibility of the West, which has really been quite low in the Middle East to begin with, but it's really sunk yet to a new low. And I think there will be repercussions of this kind of Western attitude towards the Palestinians, but also towards the Middle East in general.
Ramzy, really appreciate your time. Thank you so much indeed. Ramzy Baroud in Seattle.